They said I owed them HOA fees. They locked my gate, sabotaged my dam, and called me a danger to the community. But when the rains came, it wasn't me they should have feared, it was the floodplain they'd paved over. That's the cold, muddy truth of how an off-grid veteran tried to warn them, how they ignored every map, tore down the one thing protecting them, and built their luxury homes right where water had always flowed. When nature finally came for them, it didn't knock. I never fought back with fists or lawsuits, I just let physics do the talking. What came next wasn't revenge, it was a reckoning carved in water, exposed in court, and remembered by every neighbor left standing in the mud. This is how the HOA destroyed my dam over unpaid fees, and then the flood took their whole neighborhood overnight. And yeah, it all happened exactly as you'd expect if you ever worked with maps, water, or the wrong kind of neighbor. They called my dam a liability. I called it the line between safety and catastrophe, and now staring at the ragged break concrete, fractured like bone steel twisted, I knew this wasn't just erosion. It was deliberate. Down below, water surged wild and free. No more regulation, no more protection, carving through the brush and heading straight for those neat little rows of pastel houses they'd stacked on a floodplain. From my post by the old service trail, I could see it all, the ornamental gate they'd installed, now half underwater, and a crowd of board members gathering helpless on the cul-de-sac as their fancy rock beds turned into rivers. They didn't just take my dam, they took my shield, my father's safety. And now for the first time they were watching the consequence pour toward them. But this story, it didn't start with water. It started with a clipboard and a woman named Cynthia Bell. 3 months earlier, life was quiet the way I liked it. Out in the valley, past the last power line, past the last bit of paved road, just scattered land and old mineral rights deeds handed down for generations. I'd moved back 6 years earlier after 15 years working emergency planning, flood response, FEMA compliance. Dad's health was slipping, so I came home, built the dam with my own hands, reinforced the valley's natural shape, and kept the runoff in check. Storms came and went, but we never flooded. Dad could sleep without worry. I could breathe knowing I was in control. Then came the encroachment. They called it Oakshore Preserve gated homes, smart sprinklers, zero lot lines. It started 2 miles down the ridge with 20 homes, then 50, then 75, then came the board and the HOA. At first I didn't care. Let them play by their own rules, just stay out of my valley. But they didn't. One morning I came home from town to find a notice stapled to my tool shed. Notice of violation, unpaid community maintenance fees. Amount due $3,460. And in neat cursive, your structure does not conform to community design standards. Failure to comply may result in legal escalation and lien. Cynthia Bell, chairwoman. I laughed at first. My land wasn't in their HOA, never had been. The deed dated back to '72, long before Oakshore. I had mineral rights, water rights, legal survey lines drawn half a mile north of their closest house. I called the number. No answer. Emailed, bounced. Drove down to their shiny new community center with its fake grass. Cynthia's unavailable, please put your concerns in writing. They didn't want a conversation. They wanted compliance. 2 weeks later, a drone buzzed above my dam. Next came photos. Notice of environmental noncompliance, unpermitted construction, blocked riparian flow, $8, $200 fine. I dug up my engineering notes, topo maps, old county letters from when I built the spillway. Everything was to code, rural exemption included. Didn't matter to the HOA. They weren't working with code. They were working with perception. Their big plan was a lakeside phase backing right into the runoff I'd managed for years. My dam was in the way. The first time I met Cynthia Bell, she was prowling my fence line with 2 guys in pastel polos. Didn't wave, just eyed my camera, kept walking. I went out. "You're on private land," I said. "We're just inspecting encroachments," she shot back. "No, you're causing one," she smirked. "You're not a licensed contractor, are you? That'll matter when this goes to the county." They left. But I double-checked every anchor, every letter, every second of my cameras that night. I could feel it. They weren't just bleeding me with fines. They wanted the land. My dam was in their way, and they'd decided it wasn't going to stop them. That brings us back to the flood. Chaos was blooming below SUVs, stuck alarms blaring, HOA officers barking into dead phones. Me, I just watched. I'd spent my life on flow patterns, hydrology, risk maps. Water doesn't respect fences, I thought. Physics doesn't obey policy. I didn't come here to fight. I came here to disappear. 6 years ago, I'd packed up everything, old Ford box of field manuals, Dad and me heading west until the noise fell away. Ended up in Caldwell County under a ridge they called Crow's Spine. Not much population. Postman never came up the gravel, fine by me. After 20 years in emergency management, I'd had enough. Politicians argued over budgets while levees cracked. I left after one brutal season. 2 dams broke in a month. State blamed the engineers, not the developers, not the counties that okayed subdivisions on flood zones. I found this valley on an Army Corps map from 1968, a natural basin shielded a single runoff. Not just a place to live, but to control. When your father's on oxygen, you don't care about pretty views, you care about safety when the power goes out. So I built the dam. Not fancy, just reinforced earth steel cages, manual floodgate pipe to a pond behind the cabin. It worked. County knew about it. I filed a notice, no permit needed, but I documented everything. I built other things. Raised woodshed, solar, backup, gravity cistern, off-grid. Didn't mean unprepared. It meant I didn't have to rely on anyone, especially not a HOA that didn't even exist when I broke ground. Things changed. Oakshore trucks arrived 2 years after we moved in. Big white pickups, logos, sod, stone carving, new roads. I watched, didn't interfere. The first houses perched safe on the ridge, fine. I figured they wouldn't be dumb enough to go lower. By year 3, they had. The marketing signs promised curated luxury. What they didn't say, their Phase 3 cul-de-sac was smack at the mouth of the marsh, right where my dam protected. I started noticing things missing. A survey stake gone, trail bulldozed, flat tracks too wide for pickups. Set up trail cams. Caught 3 guys in neon vests measuring my dam, no permission. Checked county plat filings, new entry Oakshore Phase 4 filed by some Shell LLC, plans right into the flood corridor. Illegal, can't build on a known floodplain without state review, unless you forge the maps. And that's what they did. I had copies of the real floodplain overlays. Still, I waited, gave them a chance to come talk. They doubled down, fines, drone footage. Cynthia Bell with her perfect nails at my driveway like she owned it. She said my dam obstructed visual harmony. I told her it keeps the valley dry, including your board's homes. She just smiled, cold as a tomb. Maybe you should pay your share. That's when I knew it was about expansion, not safety. I prepped every document, maps, deeds, construction photos, county emails, labeled them all, backed them up. I knew things were about to get dangerous. I was right. First the fine, then another, then a manila envelope. Final notice, outstanding balance. $4,780 lien in 14 days. A spreadsheet of fees, lawn, irrigation, gate maintenance, pond, reflection, infrastructure. That one almost made me laugh. Problem was I wasn't in their damn HOA. I called the county. Oakshore's jurisdiction ended a ridge away. How are they sending me these, I asked. Clerk sighed. Some HOAs try to annex by perception, send notices, hope folks comply. Only works if you fight back. I knew the game. I'd seen developers weaponize bureaucracy, bend small-town politics to their will. It always started on paper, then the pressure. Within a week, my access gate was locked. No warning, just a keypad and a smug sign. Oakshore residents only. I bypassed it through the woods, got the message this wasn't about money. It was about control. Harassment ramped up. HOA patrols, yes, patrols drove up the public road. GoPros filming, idling by my line, zooming in on my dam. Saw one drop a measuring stick checking something. Another day, a contractor knocked, clipboard in hand. Here to perform a safety evaluation. I shut the door in his face, filed a report with the sheriff. Civil matter, they said. Take it up with the HOA. But the HOA wouldn't answer calls, just cheery auto replies. The worst part, what it did to my dad. He was already fragile on oxygen. The locked gate meant emergency services would take longer. Every time a strange car slowed at the trees, he looked at me nervous, unsettled. Feels like a siege, he said at dinner. I didn't tell him I agreed. So I documented everything, trail cam footage, violation notices, drone shots, deeds, county records, a spreadsheet of their fake expenses. Filed FOIA requests to see Oakshore's filings, permits, flood studies. One came back redacted, but enough showed their fraud. Maps altered by hand, floodplain boundaries moved to exclude their new houses. I printed every page, slid them into a binder, labeled it "When They Sue Me." because I knew it was coming. Then came the summons, a compliance hearing at their community hall. Not legally binding, but if I didn't show, they'd spin the story. So I went. Beige chairs in rows, panel of 5. Cynthia in a red blazer. "Mr. Kane," she said. I opened my binder, slid forward the map. "You're outside your jurisdiction. Here's your boundary. Here's my deed. Here's your forged map." She blinked, then smiled. "These matters can be negotiated." "No," I said. "They can be litigated." I left. That night I double-locked the door, checked the cameras, watched the moonlight on still water. Knew in my gut they wouldn't wait for court. They'd destroy the dam. It was 5:23 a.m. when I heard it. A low thud, not thunder. I was already awake, sleeping light since the meeting. Dad coughed in the next room. I pulled on boots, grabbed a flashlight. The gate was hanging open, forced. Steel chain cut, lock in pieces. Floodgate had been lowered, deliberate, not accident. Trail cams ripped off their mounts. Tire tracks leading to the utility road fresh. They'd come early, knew exactly what to cut. Sabotage. The dam was compromised. Water was surging harder right toward the retention pond. If rain picked up or snowmelt intensified, we'd be at capacity in 48 hours. No proof, just tracks and a ruined chain, but I knew. I took photos, bagged the lock, printed their last fine notice, and wrote in red, "If this floods, it's on them." Filed an incident report with the sheriff. Deputy was polite but uncertain. "No witnesses, just damage. Can't charge anyone without footage." "Then you better hope this doesn't turn criminal," I told him, "because if that dam gives, it's not civil anymore." So I prepped emergency plans, checked the old creek bed. It ended right in their new development. They'd poured concrete over soft ground, called it progress, but nature never forgets. That night it rained steady, soaking, relentless. With the dam gate damaged, the pressure built fast. Water levels 2 feet above baseline. My father watched from the porch. "They did it, didn't they?" "Yeah," I said. "Are we in danger?" "Not yet." He nodded, gazed toward their homes. "They don't know what's coming." I tried to confront them. Drove to their office with the cut chain, the photos. "Tell her this," I said to the receptionist. "You broke something you didn't understand. If you think water cares about your zip code, you're dead wrong." Left. That evening I installed a new cam tripwire sensor. Wasn't letting them back without warning, but the rain hadn't stopped. Upstream levels rising, spillway not enough to redirect overflow if the gate failed. Made a list, supplies, evac plan, generator, fuel. But nowhere to go, couldn't move Dad with the access gate locked. Then another letter. "Failure to comply will result in physical enforcement under HOA discretion. Cynthia Bell." A threat. They'd made one fatal mistake, thinking I wouldn't escalate. They didn't know I wrote disaster response policy, didn't know I had all the maps, didn't know what was coming when the rain didn't stop. Morning the dam broke, I was already on the ridge, hadn't slept. Rain intensified, water crept up the intake spillway, hissing. 4:47 a.m. Gate sensor pinged red, then a tripwire breach, someone was there. Rushed down, cam feed cut to static. Damage was obvious. The lower valve wide open, wrenched out tools, left like a signature, unauthorized structure removed per HOA mandate. Floodwater surged, no more control. I sprinted back, lungs burning. The roar echoed up the ridge. Dad was pale by the window. "It's happening, isn't it?" "Yeah," I said, grabbing the emergency binder. 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. The runoff would hit their homes, the ones built right in the floodplain. I made 3 calls. 911 reported sabotage. My lawyer prepped the file, and the only reporter who'd ever listened. By 6:05 a.m., the flood was a rolling sheet reclaiming the valley. Water followed its ancient path, the one their bulldozers ignored. Lawns, walls, cars gone. Cynthia Bell stood on a porch, red blazer, soaked, screaming into a dead phone. We locked eyes even across the flood. This wasn't revenge. It was physics. By midday, the news choppers were overhead. County truck, sheriff, EMS, but too late. 30 homes flooded, 8 uninhabitable, 3 cars swept into a retention pond. I gave my statement, showed the footage, the letters, the evidence. "This isn't my flood," I said. "This is theirs." The shift was instant, neighbors shouting, crying, reporters on the ground. That night rain still drummed the windows. I checked my sensors, all past critical. No more escape routes, the gate still locked. Then a pounding, neighbors soaked, breathless, carrying coolers and first aid kits. Do you need help, they asked. I looked past them. Others were climbing the hill carrying children, nothing else. No phones, no badges, just stunned faces. They came to the man, they'd find the dam, they destroyed the cabin they tried to erase. By nightfall, 17 people were inside. We waited together. As water covered the roads, my cabin was the highest point left. The irony wasn't lost on me. After the flood, the press called it the suburb that forgot to check the map. But I hadn't forgotten. I walked through Oakshore Phase 4 mud so deep it swallowed fire hydrants, not to gloat, but to show the man they'd tried to fine into silence, walking the ruins. Cynthia was gone. Rumor was medical leave, or maybe she'd fled. I wasn't waiting for her. I sent every fake map, every forged document to the county, state, and reporter. This wasn't a natural disaster. This was fraud, I wrote. The state sent a team engineers compliance officers. They saw the truth: my dam built before Oakshore, all legal rural exemption. What happened here wasn't an accident, one said. By Friday, subpoenas hit Oakshore's board. The county started an emergency audit. The permit office swept clean. A reporter asked me, "Do you feel vindicated?" I said, "Vindication means someone listened. This is just the water doing what it was always going to do. I just got out of the way." That night, my father breathed easier. "Will you let them back up here?" he asked. "I'll let the right ones." And I did. I nailed the fake blueprint to the old sign, ignored this map, paid the price. Rain doesn't negotiate. When the sun returned, Oakshore Phase 4 was gone, just concrete pads and mud. And I didn't feel hate. I felt inevitability. The water followed the old blueprint, not the HOAs. Local news then, regional then national, unpermitted development, natural consequence. Oakshore's development permit, under federal review, 3 forgeries on the record. The HOA dissolved the developer's LLC, gone. Most residents stayed, now helping each other, learning, asking, listening. And for the first time, no one talked about fines. A month later, the state redrew the floodplain using my maps, called it the Kane overlay. I sat with that letter a long time, not pride, not vengeance, just acknowledgement. The hill I'd stood on wasn't isolation, it was foresight. In the end, Oakshore's board sued me for malicious negligence. I walked into the courthouse with the same binder, now thicker with new evidence. My lawyer, Hank, said, "This isn't law, it's a physics lecture." Inside was a circus camera crew's crowds. The plaintiff's attorney tried to blame me, but the judge saw through it. This court finds no grounds for civil liability. The evidence indicates a pattern of fraud and mismanagement by the HOA. Case dismissed. Outside, the press swarmed. "What would you say to those who called you dangerous?" I didn't win. I just told the truth before nature did. That week, Oakshore's HOA officially dissolved. No new board, no more fines, just a cooperative. I donated steel flood markers. Here the water remembered. 6 months later, the valley was green again. People healed slowly. My father looked lighter. Neighbors rebuilt some.